Bro. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on a different level now. Check the altitude. They see the glow up, change their whole damn attitude. Used to dream about this life, now I'm living proof. From the concrete jungle, breaking out the roof. Money calling my phone.
Hey, what's going on? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. My name is Johnny Figueroa. I'm not just a safety professional, but I'm also the president of Safety Upgrade. Guys, today what I want to talk to you guys about is the 10 steps why OSHA standards actually exist. Now, before we go into the standard, before we go into the regulation, what I want you guys to understand, and what's very, very important, is that before you implement, before you train, before you go out there and you enforce, any type of regulation, any type of law, or anything you're going out there trying to enforce, when it comes to OSHA, we need to understand one thing. It's not just about enforcing a law or going out there and pushing a regulation to the employee. It's really looking into your program, really looking into your environment, really looking into your workplace. And once you look into your workplace, it's engineering everything as possible to be able to reduce risk. And once you engineer, the hazards and in the processes in the workplace, and you minimize the injuries, we need to understand one important thing: is what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the laws? What is the purpose of the regulation? And the purpose of the regulation is for us to prevent for people getting hurt. The purpose of OSHA implementing and enforcing laws and regulations is because they don't want people to get hurt in the workplace. And that's very, very important that we understand. But before anything, guys, stop. If you're a safety professional, stop trying to be an enforcer. One thing that you need to understand, that if you want to enforce and you want to educate people on laws and regulation, you need to understand the human behavior. You need to understand the psychology of people. What I mean by that is the way that has structured a safety professional success is based on the 8 steps that have worked in every single industry that I've been to. Now, guys, I've been a safety professional over 10 years, but I've been practicing safety professional habits and procedures since 2008, 2009. So we're talking about almost 20 years of experience being around safety, being around different industries. But I started in manufacturing. From manufacturing, I went into different types of warehouses. I went to from manufacturing, I went to construction. From construction, I got introduced to agriculture, and I had the privilege to be able to get introduced to many different industries, even food processing. So that being said, is this 8 steps of a safety professional versus successful safety professional has worked in every single industry that I've been to. And step number 1, and I want you guys to write this down because it's really important. Before you go into the law and regulation, I want you guys to write this down because this is what a lot of safety professionals are missing. The reason why I'm doing this live videos, the reason why I'm recording this training is because safety got boring. There's no more. Safety is boring. You have all these different safety professionals talking about laws, talking about regulations, talking about, what you have to follow. Sometimes it feels like you're getting in trouble. Sometimes it feels like the safety professional, instead of educating you, is getting you in trouble and telling you what to do rather than educating you. So one thing that I have learned is step number 1 is have a great attitude. Guys, it's so important that when you're educating people, when you're going out there and training, the number 1 thing that you have to understand is you need to have a great attitude. People are not going to listen to you if you're boring. People are not going to listen to you. You have a fuchi face. People are not going to listen to you if you're annoying, right? Anyways, but yes, so you have to have a great attitude. Other than having a great attitude, remember this: energy is contagious. So when people around you have bad energy and have bad attitude is contagious. So you get that energy. So it's very important that as a safety professional, you're always taking control of that energy, and you're the one giving the great energy. People are going to make a difference when you have a great energy, because other than giving great energy, remember one thing: energy is contagious. So when you give out good energy, you're setting up the room to have good energy. So step number one, have a great attitude. Step number two is be prepared. Guys, one of the things that is very important as a safety professional when you're going to go and educate people, you need to be prepared. Now, what I mean being prepared, you need to have good sleep, right? Not having good sleep puts you in a bad mood, and it affects your attitude. Other than good sleep, you need to have something in your, in your system, not too much, because you don't want to, sometimes eating too much, you get lazy. But be prepared. Have the right materials, have the right training materials. Make sure the material and the training is in the language they understand. Remember, OSHA requires you to train and educate people on the language they understand. There's no purpose of you having an English material, educating your people and training your people on Spanish when you have English material. They will cite you for that. They will tell you it's not effective because the material is English. So how can they, the people, how can OSHA or any federal and state ensure that it's compliant when your material is in English? They need to make sure that it's translated to the language they understand. Other than being prepared, the other thing that's very important as a safety professional is you need to be on time. Guys, how embarrassing, or how many times have you guys gone to a training and seen a facilitator show up late? How annoying is that? When you have production in your head, or you have other responsibilities you got to take care of, besides people hating safety, right? Besides, there it is. Besides people hating safety already, they're already mad that they have to sit down with you. So if you don't have a great attitude, if you're not prepared, and then you show up late, trust me, you're not going to get your message across. You need to make sure you're on time. You need to make sure. Now, what does being on time mean? If your training is at 6 p.m., do you show up at 6 p.m.? I hope you guys said no. You show up 30 minutes before. Why? Because you got to get prepared. You got to set up your equipment. You got to set up your training material. You got to make sure you have your training material. You'll be surprised how many times I've seen so many safety professionals go out there, do a training, and they're missing a certain documentation. They're missing a signing sheet, a simple signing sheet. They're missing something in their training, and they're not prepared, and it ruins the whole training. Unless you're someone like me that has been doing it for many years, I've also seen safety professionals overcome it and be able to figure it out anyways. That's the type of safety professional you need to become. You need to learn how to adjust. You need to learn how to adapt. Where in a situation where you're not prepared, because you are human, you are going to make errors. If people that have kids and family, things are going to happen. So there's going to be days and situations where you might not be prepared. But what you need to understand is life happens. Life is going to happen. Situations are going to happen. But the more you're looking at it, and the more that you're preparing yourself, it's cause and effect. There's a better chance of being successful if you're doing something about it versus not doing nothing about it. So it's very important that you're on time. Another thing that's very important that people don't understand, that when you're a safety professional, it's a 24-hour job. It's not an 9 to 5 job. It's not, you clock in, you clock out. When you're in safety, at least a passionate safety professional like myself, it's a 24 hours, 7 days a week job. Meaning either you're educating yourself on new laws and regulations, you're getting training material ready for your people and your employees or whoever you're going to train, but you're always doing something that's going to add value either to your people, your workplace, or whatever you're doing as a safety professional. But rule number 4 is you got to work until you're done. You know how many times, guilty as charged, safety professionals get, they're currently doing an investigation. An accident happens, and then they say, I'll take pictures tomorrow. I'll just get the report tomorrow. It's already 3 o'clock. I gotta go. And they take off, and they don't do the report that same day. Well, let me tell you this, what happens. Things change overnight. Circumstances change overnight. An environment changes overnight. There's so many situations and circumstances that can happen that can sabotage whatever you're investigating. Let me give you an example. If you have an agriculture, there's a lot of tractors, there's a lot of industrial vehicles in the workplace. If you have an industrial vehicle fall in a ditch, for example, right, on a rainy day, the next day it's like super sunny. You know how California is changing from sunny to rainy the next day, and then it's snowing, and then you got tornado, and then you got hurricane, and then you got earthquake. You got all these stuff happening at the same time. But anyways, right? So guys, a little late on the last week, but that's okay. But anyways, guys, circumstances change all the time. People's stories change all the time. The reason why it's important that you do the investigation in the moment of the accident is not because you're trying to point fingers. The reason why you need to do the investigation is because you need to prevent it from happening to somebody else. Just because you had a minor accident or an incident in the workplace, and it wasn't to you, it wasn't as big as, it requires your attention now and then, doesn't mean it's not going to happen worse. Let me tell you guys a story real quick. And this happened to me this year. I had an employee working with magnets, 2 magnets. Boom. He grabbed the 2 magnets at the same time. They smashed each other. They grabbed his nail. It barely even clipped him. Luckily, he got saved. Nothing happened. We trained everybody. We told everybody, hey, guys, we got to be careful, blah, blah, blah. We thought we did everything we can to prevent it from happening. A week later, hear me out. A week later, another person gets smashed, and he gets an amputation on his finger. Guys, every single accident, you need to make sure you have the right corrective action. You need to make sure that you don't finish until your work is done. Because one little error, one little I forgot to follow up, can create an amputation. Just because you didn't want to work your work until you were done. So that's my step number 4. Now, step number 5 is maximizing your resources. What does that mean? That means if you're maximizing your resources, use your supervisors, use your leadership, use your employees. Guys, you know how many safety professionals want to take the whole elephant on their own? They want to just, kind of run the whole ship on their own. It doesn't work like that. A captain in a boat is successful not just because he's guiding the boat. He's successful because he knows how to move his staff. He's successful because every staff member in the workplace knows their role. And believe it or not, in the workplace, every single person in the workplace has a role. An employee has a role, a leadership has a role, management has a role, the safety professional has a role. Every single person in the workplace has a role they need to follow. So it's very, very important, guys, that you maximize your resources by educating everybody and really defining who's who. Who are your first responders? Who are your second responders? Who's trained on what? Who needs the training of a certain topic versus who needs certification versus just refreshers? It's very important, guys, that you really, really maximize your resources. And even from there, what tools are you using? What tools are you using to track your hazards? What tools are you using to train your people? It's very important, guys, that you're really, really maximizing your resources. Now, step number 6, guys. Step number 6 is you need to have an attitude check. As a safety professional, one thing I have learned is every single day we're dealing with different challenges. We're dealing with different emotions from different people. We're dealing with different hazards. We're dealing with different circumstances. We're dealing with so many different pressure. With so many different things happening at once that you always have to make sure that you check your attitude. Because once you lose your attitude and you don't have a great attitude, that's when you start making the error. That's when people start getting hurt. That's when you stop caring about people and remember why. Know your why and what you're doing. You gotta remember why you became a safety professional. You gotta remember why every single day when you wake up, why is it that you go to work? As a safety professional, guys, it's very important that we know our role. Our role is to save a life and save a limb. Yes, it's compliance. Yes, it's training. There's so many different things and so many different hats that we play as safety professionals. But our main goal and mission is to save a life and save a limb. In order for you to do that, you need to know your why and what you're doing. Guys, we need to understand one thing. You need to take this personal. This has to be personal. This has to be personal. What I mean by that is every single person you work with, you need to think about it like this. Is that could be my family member. That could be my brother. That could be my sister. That could be my mom. It could be my dad. It could be somebody that I love. And if you don't take it personal, then you're just doing it for the money and you're not doing it for the people. And people are going to get hurt, and people will get hurt. Very serious. And it's very important that you really know. If you don't know your why, let me know. DM me. I'll give you more how you can find your why. But right now, it's very important that that's something that you need to ask yourself. What is your why and what you're doing? And then lastly is you need to take control. When you're a safety professional, you need to know how to take control of everything. From conversations, from your trainings, from your inspections. But more than anything, when you're a safety professional, you need to learn that you need to take control of your legacy, right? Of who you are as a safety professional. Guys, I've been doing this for so many different years, and one thing that I realized is your image, it really counts. Your credibility as a safety professional, it really does count. It really does count because you're going to meet, a lot of safety. Only because you're not working for one employer doesn't mean that for another employer you're not going to meet them again. Or different, OSHA, federal, state agents. You'll be surprised how many companies talk about safety professionals. So you need to make sure you take control of all these different steps. Now, guys, why are we here? We're here to talk about today. I wanted to teach you guys why OSHA standards actually exist. Now, today, guys, we're not just going to read another OSHA regulation. We're not going to make this boring. Guys, I want to make safety fun again. For some reason, we forgot what safety was really about. It's about saving a life. It's not just about any regulation or us reading a regulation. We got to remember one thing. Great safety professionals understand the story behind it, behind everything that they do. But more than anything, because you need to understand the why. Because when you understand the why, the regulation, hear me out, the regulation suddenly makes sense. When you understand the why, let me say that one more time, put that in your notes. When you understand the why, the regulation suddenly doesn't make sense. Let me tell you why. Today we're not just gonna travel back in time. We're really gonna go back in time, where we're really gonna think about before OSHA even existed. Does anybody know when OSHA existed? Does anybody know when? Well, believe it or not, OSHA, there was once upon a time, OSHA didn't exist. Before there was one national, safety rule book, when every company made up its own rule. Think about it. Back then, before OSHA, every single company can pretty much make up their own rule. Now, guys, I want to say something before I continue. Let's do a quick disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an OSHA representative. I'm not a federal state agent. So whatever I tell you guys today is based on my experience, based on the certifications that I have, and what I learned. So please don't take this as I'm giving you any attorney or any legal advice as a federal or state agent. I'm just educating you guys based on experience and the certifications that I have. And I just have to say that because you never know, right? But again, let's go back. So the 10 steps why OSHA standards exist. Before anything, let's understand one thing. Why did OSHA come in place? Why? Think about it. Why? What was happening out there? Why didn't just, if some companies were trying to enforce policies, trying to, follow rules, why? Think about it. So guys, this is what you're going to learn. So by the end of the training, you're not just going to understand the OSHA 1910.1, but you're also going to be able to explain it to all your employees, to all your supervisors, to all the managers, to even the owners, and maybe you're even going to explain it to your grandma. Right? So guys, let's begin. So what are we going to learn today? So today, by the end of this training, guys, you guys are going to be able to explain why OSHA was created. Why OSHA was created. Another thing that you're going to be able to explain is you're going to be able to describe where the OSHA standards actually came from. A lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people don't even know where the actual standards really even come from. You're going to learn that today. We're also going to be explaining to you, or you're going to be able to explain what is the national consensus of the standard, and explain the federal standard and apply the OSHA 1910.1 to the real workplace. Whatever position you might be, it's always better to know than not know. And other than that, you're going to be able to explain it in simple English. What is the OSHA 1910.1? And more than anything, you're going to lead in safety, not just enforce it. Remember, we don't enforce. We engineer, we educate, and then you enforce. You can't enforce something you don't educate people on. So you got to make sure you lead safety, not just enforce it. So let's go to step number 1, guys. Step number 1, let me tell you a little story, guys. I want everybody to use your imagination. I want everybody just to wait for 1 minute. Use your imagination. I hope you have one. So use your imagination. So let's just pretend that it is in 2026. I want everybody to close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. Do not close your eyes. Thank you, guys. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. So let's just pretend it is 1969. The age of many of you watching me. No, I'm just kidding. It's 1969. 1969. Man, I don't know that bad. But anyways, 1969. No smartphone. Oh, that one hurt. Just by saying it, right? No smartphone, no internet. How many of you had AOL or had the internet or whatever it was called, and you had to wait until it dialed in? Don't answer that, because if you do, they're going to know your age. No internet, no YouTube. Imagine a world without YouTube. No YouTube, no Google. Imagine a world without Google. Well, believe it or not, 1969 didn't have no smartphones, they didn't have no internet, they didn't have no YouTube, and they had no Google. Let's just say that in 1969, you're 24 years old. 24 years old. Now, as a 24-year-old kid, you just got hired. You got hired at this ABC company, manufacturing company. Now, it's your first day working at a manufacturing plant. Let's just say it's your first day working at a plant, and please, don't tell me this still happens in the workplace. Please lie to me. Please lie to me. But let's just say it's your first day working in a manufacturing plant. You're excited. You have a wife or a husband, and you guys have 2 children. Obviously, you guys have bills to pay. You walk into work, and the supervisor shakes your hand and says, "How you doing, Juan? How are you?" And then he tells you and says, he points out a building and he says, "You're going to be working over there, Juan. Today, you're going to be over there." And that's your orientation. Imagine that. No PPE, no safety meeting, no emergency procedures, no machine guarding. Think about it. No machine guarding, no lockout, tagout, no hazard communication, nothing. You walk over to an employee named Bob. You got over here Bob. Bob smiles. Bob likes what he's doing. He's been doing this for so many years. And he's just a happy guy. He loves what he does. And then you go to Bob, and Bob just smiles and says, "Don't worry, you'll figure it out." How many of you have got an employee like that? I hope you guys have it. And if you have, I am sorry to hear that. But let's just say you have Bob, he smiles and he says, "Don't worry, you'll figure it out." A few minutes later, Bob, the one that told you, "Don't worry, you'll figure it out," Bob reaches inside a running machine. The machine catches his sleeve. Within seconds, the entire room changes. Think about it. The entire room changes. The machine stops. People start to scream. And you hear somebody calling, "Help! Help!" And then the ambulance arrives. Bob survives. But he never gets to use that hand again. So I want you guys to just stop for a second. Just stop for 1 second. I want you guys to imagine that you were Bob's family. I just want you to imagine that. Imagine you were Bob's family. Just for a second. What will you do? So if you had Bob and he was your family member and he got hurt, how will you feel? Do you guys think that accident was simply bad luck? Or do you guys think that someone should have prevented it from happening? What do you guys think? And if it was someone, what do you guys think should have been that someone? The supervisor? The lead? The employee? Right? Now let's do this. Now let's drive 5 miles down the road. Okay? Let's just go 5 miles down the road. Another scenario, another factory, same equipment, same production, same product. But this company, think about it, this company is different. This company is different. Employees receive orientation. They get the all hard hats. They're all required. The machines have guard. Electrical equipment is locked out before it repairs. And all the emergency exits are marked. Employees know exactly what to do. But here's my question. Which company would you rather have your son working in? Or your daughter? Or your spouse? What company would you rather them work in? I hope you guys said the second one. Right? Exactly. Now here's the shocking part. Before OSHA, both companies were legal. Meaning, if somebody got hurt in 1969, that scenario, they didn't do anything wrong. Both companies were legal. There was not a single national rule book, and every company decided what was safe for every employee. Think about it. Every company, the company you're working at right now, think about it. Are they making sure that you're actually staying safe? Some companies, that means that back in 1969, that means that some companies invested in safety and some didn't. Some companies didn't invest in safety because they didn't have to. They didn't care about it. Think about it. Workers had to pay the price. Workers had to pay the price. How were they paying the price? By getting hurt. If somebody at that time, because OSHA didn't exist, if somebody wasn't enforcing and pushing the laws and regulation, workers would still be paying the price. And the Congress finally said, this is what happened. The Congress finally looked across America and said, this has to change. That's what they said. The Congress got together, they saw all this injury, they saw all these people getting hurt. People started speaking up and saying, hey, we're getting hurt at the workplace. The Congress finally looked across America and said, this has to change. So what does that mean for OSHA? That means in 1970, I want you guys to take notes, because even when you go and you take your CSP, when you go take your safety professional certification, this is one of the questions. When was OSHA established? 1970. OSHA was established in 1970. So the Occupational Safety and Health Act became the law. So that's when OSHA was born. What does OSHA mean? Occupational Safety Health Act. Occupational Safety and Health Act became the law, and that's when OSHA was born. When was OSHA born? 1970. You have to remember that, guys, because that's going to be in your CSP test, and any test you take as a safety professional, that's on there. But remember this, when OSHA was established, I want you guys to remember this, because as a safety professional, guys, I've been through so many different professionals and so many different companies, and you know how many times I heard them say, OSHA's just there because they make money. OSHA's just there because if they enforce the law, they enforce all these policies, they make money. That's false. Guys, that's not true. OSHA doesn't even keep the money. They didn't just create OSHA because of the paperwork. Not to make a safety man. OSHA wasn't created to make safety managers merciful or bad, right? OSHA wasn't created to be your suegra. Do you understand that? OSHA wasn't here to be your worst enemy. I'm not saying your suegra is your worst enemy. My suegra is my best friend. But anyways, guys, I want you guys to understand that when OSHA was established and when OSHA was founded, it was because so many people were getting hurt and there was no consequences behind it. Think about it. OSHA was created for one simple reason. And I want you guys to take this and put it in bold words. If you're a safety professional and you're going into safety, I want you guys to put this in bold words. OSHA was created for one simple reason. For every worker deserves the opportunity to go home safely at the end of the day. That's what OSHA's message is. OSHA's message, again, one more time. OSHA's message is every worker deserves the opportunity to go home safely at the end of the day. Guys, that single idea is the foundation of the OSHA 1910.1. I want you guys to understand that. So if you're a safety professional, as a safety professional, remember this. Most OSHA regulations exist because someone was hurt, killed, or exposed to a serious hazard before the rule was written. OSHA standard reflects lessons learned from the real workplace. Research and establishments, safe practices, not convenience to the requirement. Guys, what I'm trying to tell you is this. OSHA was invented because every law and regulation that's being enforced, every law and regulation that's being pushed out is because they already happened. They're being reactive. Our job as safety professionals is to be proactive by identifying the hazard before somebody gets hurt. But we find the easy way out and we want to blame OSHA that they're just here to be a headache. Guys, that's not true. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Most OSHA regulations exist because someone was hurt, killed, or exposed to a serious hazard in the workplace. Guys, every single rule that was written, every single standard that was written reflects on something that happened. Something that happened to Bob. Imagine Bob was your family member. Remember, imagine he was your cousin, your brother, your sister. your son, your daughter, your spouse. Guys, that's how serious you need to take the workplace. Whenever you see a regulation, anytime you see yourself, anytime, guys, you see a regulation, ask yourself, what the problem was this rule trying to solve? Again, what problem was this rule trying to solve? Why did they implement this law or regulation? What are they trying to solve? When you understand the story, you're going to understand the regulation. A lot of people don't want to follow regulations because they don't understand the story behind it and what it's solving. Or maybe they don't understand the law. Guys, I don't blame you. Sometimes I'm reading these laws and regulations and it don't make sense. I get it. But again, guys, they take feedback. Did you guys know that OSHA takes feedback? Did you guys know that you can go and change the law or regulation? You guys can do that, but you have to go and communicate and really inform yourself. Now, guys, I know I'm getting excited. I'm getting all fired up. And guys, please don't take it offensive. I'm not angry. I'm just very passionate when I talk about safety. I love what I do. I've been doing it for so many years. So at any time, I'm not angry. I just love what I do, guys. But now let's do this now. Now that we understand why OSHA was created, I want to ask you guys a question. I really want to ask you guys a question. What exactly is OSHA 1910.1? Can somebody tell me what exactly is OSHA 1910.1? And if you don't know, that's fine. Because let's find out. So guys, what we're going to be talking about today is the 10 steps why OSHA standards exist. What are the 10 steps that OSHA standard exists? So let's talk about it again. My goal for you guys is so that way you guys know why OSHA standards were created, right? I want you guys to know why the OSHA standard was actually created. Other than that, where OSHA rules actually came from. Because I didn't know that. That helped me so much more to understand the laws and regulations when I understood where OSHA rules actually come from. And then, why every safety professional should know this. Guys, it's very important you always know the why. You gotta know why every safety professional should know this and how to explain it to every single employee and management. Because what's the whole point of you learning laws and regulations if you don't know how to explain it? The real leaders are not the ones that are very informed, but are the ones that are informed and go and duplicate themselves. That is a leader. You cannot be a leader without people. You need people to be a leader. So you need to be informed and know how to explain it to people, okay? So this is what I want. This is my goal for you guys. And obviously, how can you apply it on your day-to-day life? My goal is to make sure that I show you guys how to apply it every single day on your day-to-day of life. So just a quick recap, guys. I know we said a little story behind it, but step number 1 of the 10 steps why the OSHA standards actually exist is, I'll put it in a short story, very simple. Imagine this. It's 1969, factories are busy, construction sites are growing, people are getting seriously hurt every single day, and some companies have safety rules and some don't. Very simple, some don't. One company requires hard hats, another doesn't, right? One company locks out machines, and another one lets workers repair machines however they want, while they're running. Workers are dying because every company is doing something different. This is 1969, guys. 1969, workers were dying because every single company was doing something different. So imagine this. There is no common rule, meaning there's nothing they can follow. So what happens is the government realizes that something has to change. So in 1970, right, OSHA was established, and the Congress created OSHA. Their mission was simple. Remember, what is their mission? It's very important you know what is OSHA's mission. What is OSHA's mission? Every worker deserves to go home alive. Very simple. Every worker deserves to go home alive. That is the OSHA mission. That is where OSHA begins. It begins with making sure that every single worker deserves to go home alive. Now, step number 2, guys. What is OSHA 1910.1? Well, that's why you guys are here. What is the OSHA 1910.1? Think of OSHA 1910.1 as an introduction to the entire OSHA general industry book. Now, I want you guys to realize something. The OSHA 1910 means general industry. It all depends on the industry you're working in. If you're working in agriculture, you're working at 1928, you got 1926, 1927. You have all these different industries. So the 1910 just means the industry. But think about it like this. The industry is not where your company is registered to OSHA or through the state. The 1910 or the regulation they're going to enforce is depending, this is important, guys, this is important, on the task they're currently performing. So what I mean by that, if you work in general industry, an employee goes outside and he starts building a home, I don't know, starts building a shed, or does something that the activity is OSHA, OSHA, construction, they're going to cite you based on the construction regulations. So what's the difference? Let me give you an example. In construction for fall protection, anybody that goes above 6 feet required to wear fall protection. In general industry, it's 4 feet. So it depends. So it does make a difference. Every single feet makes a difference. But it all comes down to the task that they're currently performing when they get hurt or when something happens. So, does that make sense? Okay? So let me ask you this. Why do you guys think these rules exist? I told you guys already, right? Why do they exist? It's not telling you to wear PPE. Remember that. The regulation is not saying wear PPE. It's not telling you how to use the forklift, right? The regulation is not telling you how to do certain things. It's explaining to you why OSHA has the authority to create those rules. That's what it is. It's really explaining to you why OSHA really has the authority of those rules. So let's go to step number 3. What does the actual standard say? What does the actual standard say? The law is saying that when OSHA was created, the Secretary of Labor needed to create a safety standard quickly. That's what it means. They got to catch up. So instead of writing the thousands of brand new rules, they looked at the safety rule that they already worked, then OSHA adopted them through the Secretary of Labor of what it is, right? Now, very simple version. Instead of starting from zero, OSHA borrowed the best safety rules that already existed, then they make them national standards. That's what they did. And the way that workers could be protected immediately. So they just grabbed existing standards, and then they made it national, and then that way they make sure that that's how they were going to be able to protect workers right away. Now, going to step number 4 is, where did OSHA actually get the rules? Guys, I want you guys to remember this. OSHA, they use different sources to get the rules. One of them is called the National Consensus Standard. Remember that. National Consensus Standard. From the National Consensus Standard, these are the safety rules experts already agreed that were good. So there are already rules in place. There are already existing rules, right? So think about it. Engineers, manufacturers, scientists, safety professionals, everyone came together and they all agreed that this is the safest way, and OSHA said, perfect. We'll use those, right? And that's exactly what it said. So after that, they used different examples like ANSI standards, NFPA standards, ASME standards, and they use all these engineering best practices to be able to enforce all the federal laws. And that's one of the sources. The second source they use is called the federal standard, where there are already government safety rules, but instead of throwing them away, OSHA adopted them and they enforced it and said, this is going to be the new OSHA federal law. So think about it like this. The government had good safety rules. They already had safety rules. The government already had them. But OSHA simply organized them into one system, right? So that way they can enforce them, made it easier. So why does this matter? Because imagine this. Imagine coaching Little League, right? Little League. Every team has a different rule, right? Every team has a different rule. One can tackle, one can kick, one can do a backflip, one can, I don't know, do whatever they want. One says 3 strikes, another one says 5. Imagine that. Another one says 6, and then nobody knows what to follow. And then it becomes confusing. That's how it was. OSHA fixed that problem. Now everybody follows the same rule book, and that creates consistency. Consistency creates safety. There has to be consistency. If you're consistent, it's going to create safety. Now, going to step number 6 is, how do you see this in the real world example? Imagine you become the safety manager at a food manufacturing plant. Maintenance comes and says, we're always requiring machines while they're running. We're always preparing machines while they're running. Imagine that. Maintenance comes, you as a safety manager say, hey, Johnny, you know what? Yeah, we always fix the machines while they're running. We never have to lock it out. We never have to do anything. And then production comes and tells you, we've been doing this for 20 years. How many of you have actually heard that? We've been doing this for 20 years already. Imagine that. Imagine that. And then your answer is, it doesn't matter how long it's been done. OSHA has one standard everybody follows. This is exactly why OSHA exists. Because instead of you using all these different resources, all these different laws, and all these different national laws, OSHA adapted it, and now you can use one source to adapt. But then guess what happened? California said, I want to be more strict. Arizona, Hawaii, Oregon, you have certain states that started implementing state law. And then you had Cal OSHA. And that's why you have Cal OSHA and federal OSHA. But we're not going to get into state right now. We're talking about federal. Now, how do you apply this? If you're a safety professional, don't invest in your own safety rules. Instead, follow the OSHA standards. Use and recognize the best practices. It's very important that you really, really recognize the best practices based on your decisions on regulations that are already in place. Document everything, train your employees, and stay consistent. It's very important that you stay consistent. You know how many times safety professionals get comfortable and they stop seeing the hazard and they don't want to listen to other people or other professionals? That has happened to so many different safety professionals, so you have to make sure you're documenting everything, you're training your employees, and most importantly, you're staying consistent. Now, guys, step number 8 is, why does OSHA use existing standards? Why does OSHA use, that's a good question, right? That's a question that I hear a lot. Why does OSHA use existing standards? Imagine building a new hospital, right? Will you design a brand new stop sign? Like a new shape, new color, just change it overall? Will you do that? And if you did, do you think it will be effective? Or would you rather use a stop sign that everybody knows how it looks like? If you go to Mexico right now, did you guys know that the sign is the same? The only thing that changes is obviously the vocabulary. It says alto instead of stop. Do you guys know that? Just an FYI. But it doesn't stop. It's the same shape, same sign. So why change it? Everybody knows what the sign already means. So you have to use where it already works. OSHA did exactly the same thing. OSHA did exactly the same thing. They went out there and they adopted all these laws and regulations. Instead of creating thousands of new rules and new laws, they adopted proven safety standards that already were being enforced. Now, that's going to save a lot of time, right? That's going to save a lot of time even for safety professionals. So most importantly, remember, the regulations are here to do what? Save lives, right? Our main goal is to save lives. Going to step number 9 is, what does consensus mean? Consensus means that most experts agree, not everyone. Again, consensus means most experts agree, but not everyone. But enough professionals agree that is the safest practice. So think about it like this. Think about choosing a pizza. There's 10 friends to vote. 8 choose pepperoni, 2 choose cheese, pepperoni wins. That is a consensus. Safety standards works the same way. Experts study every accident, they test the equipment, they collect all the data, and then they agree on what is the safest method. Does that make sense? Now, going to the step number 10, last step, how do you explain this to everyone or to the employees? If an employee asks, why do we follow OSHA? If somebody were to ask you right now, why should we follow OSHA? What do you guys think? What I think, this is what you could say. Because they aren't that random company rules. Again, because these aren't random company rules. They're safely practices experts, and the government agreed to help keep people from getting hurt. OSHA adopted it so that everybody works by the same safety standard. Simple, professional, and easy to understand. OSHA adopted them so everybody will work under the same safety standard. OSHA wanted to make sure they hold everybody accountable the same way. Very easy to understand. Guys, any questions, let me know, DM me, put it in the comments, send me, any information you guys want to know, let me know. But these are the key takeaways. Remember this, OSHA was created in when? 1970. Workers needed one consistent set of safety standards, so that's when it got implemented. And OSHA adopted proven safety standards instead of starting from scratch. Those standards came from national consequences standards existing federal laws. The goal is to protect workers from reducing injuries. So this is my tip. This is my tip for all the safety professionals. When you're leading a safety program, don't tell people because OSHA says no. Always explain the why. It's very important that you always explain the why. These rules were built from years of experience, research, accidents, and experts agreed that, they're just here because they wanted to help people and go home safe at the end of the day. Think about it like that. Think about it like this. People are more likely to follow safety rules when they understand the reason behind them, not just because of the requirement. It's simple as that. Our main goal as people is to go home every single day the same way that we got to work, which is safe and healthy. So, guys, if you guys got any value from this training, please let us know. Please DM us. Guys, this is completely free for you guys. I hope you guys learned something. We're going to continue to be educating you guys on different subjects, on different topics. We're going to be breaking down every laws and regulations. We kind of want to make safety great again. We want to share as much information as we can with you guys. Make sure you guys follow us at, Safety Upgrade Corporation on Instagram. Make sure you guys follow our YouTube channel as well. So subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Safety Upgrade Corporation. This is Johnny Figueroa with Safety Upgrade. Thank you all. Have a great day.
I got tired of staying the same. Tired of blaming pain. Tired of waiting for life to move first. So I changed. Pressure made that happen. Yeah. I was stuck. I was stuck in a cycle. Same road, same fear, same doubt.